In this video I'm going to show you how to assemble a Yamaha Stage Custom Birch drum set. From unboxing to fitting the drum heads, basic tuning and positioning, to setting up stands and pedals, we walk you step by step through the process, presented in conjunction with our partners at Yamaha Drums. So when you receive your Yamaha Stage Custom Birch, it's going to come in a large box like this. If you've ordered a cymbal pack and a hardware pack, which is your stands and your pedals, that will be in separate packaging. There's a certain amount of assembly that we need to do, but don't worry, it's fairly straightforward stuff and I'm here to help you. The first thing we'll do is unbox and lay out all the component parts on the floor. If you're ready, let's get started. So now we have all the component parts laid out on the floor here. We start with the bass drum, then we have your bass drum hoops, your bass drum heads, then we have your snare drum. We have the floor tom with the rims, we have the legs and the drum heads for the floor tom, and we'll assemble that in just a moment. And then we have the middle tom and the high tom. At the front here we have your tom holders, and then we have your tension bolts and your claw hooks. These essentially are going to attach the drum heads to the drums. The most important piece of equipment that we have is our Yamaha drum key. Now we don't need screwdrivers, we don't need a toolbox, we don't need anything like that. This key is going to do everything that we need it to do. So the nice thing about this Yamaha Stage Custom Birch is that the high tom and the middle tom are already assembled. So as far as the toms go, it's really just the floor tom that we need to put together. Now, this part of the drum here is called the bearing edge. And what we'll do is we'll take our drum head and we just place it over the bearing edge like that. And there's a really snug fit right there. But one thing that we do recommend anyway is that we do something called seating. Now, to seat the drum head, you'll just take your hands and you'll push down on the drum head. Don't worry if you hear it stretching or cracking like this. Quite natural. And then we just release it. And then what that ensures is an even distribution across the bearing edge. Then we take our rim and we place the rim over the drum like this. Now these are called ears, and we just want to make sure that we're lining up the ear of the rim with the tension bolt receiver there. And then we'll just thread our first tension bolt in. And then we put the other one in opposite. So now I've put all the tension bolts in, the first thing that we will do is finger tighten them. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go complete opposite here, and I'm going to finger tighten these bolts till I feel them start to bite. So don't over tighten those. So I feel that biting now. Then I do the same with these. Again, I'm working in opposites, and then I do the same with these. So now that I'm happy that I've got a good grip on the tension bolts, I'll take my drum key, and again I'm going to do what we call point-to-point tuning. So we'll start with this tension bolt and I'm just going to turn it once, twice. Then I'll go to the opposite and I'll do that once, twice. And then I'm going to just keep repeating that, again working in opposites until I'm happy that I'm starting to get, again, an even distribution of the drum head sitting over the bearing edge. And then when I've done that, I'm going to turn the drum over and I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the rim on the bottom side of the drum. So again, the nice thing about the Stage Custom Birch is this snare drum does come assembled, which is really good because it is one of the more complex drums to assemble. So we have our coated batter head on the top, and then if I just tilt the drum slightly, you'll see on the bottom we have our snare wires. Now, if I just turn this again, you'll see the snare release mechanism. If I pull the lever away from me, that disconnects the snare wires, and then if I push it forward, well, here it reconnects the snare wires. The dial on the top, if I turn it counterclockwise, just takes a little bit of the pressure off the snare wires. You'll start to hear a little bit more buzz on the snare, and then if I want to tighten that or reduce the buzz, I'll turn it in a clockwise way like this. Other than that, tiny little bit of fine tuning, this snare drum is ready to go straight out of the box. So we'll assemble the bass drum. Now we assemble the bass drum much along the same way as we do the toms. Now, just so you know, this is the bottom of the drum here. This is the top of the drum. So we'll take our drum head and we'll place it over the bearing edge. Now this seat's really snug again, but it's a very good idea to still seat the drum head just like we did with the toms. So again, we'll press down here. And if you hear that, don't worry, again, that's perfectly natural. And again, that's just to ensure the even distribution. So once we've seated the drum head, we take our bass drum hoop. Now you can see from this bass drum hoop, there's a rubber pad on here. Now that's where your bass drum pedal is going to connect. So it's very important that that is at the bottom of the drum. So I'm connecting that like this, and my rubber pad is just down here. So once we've done that, we take our bass drum claw hooks and we'll thread the tension bolt through like that. And we'll do that with a couple to start with. And then these just fit over the drum like this. And then again, you start inserting the tension bolt into the receiver. And just like I did with the toms, I'm going to go and do the opposite side now. And then I'll go ahead and do the same thing with the rest of the tension bolts. So now we'll go ahead and tighten the bolts just like we did with the toms. So again, I finger tighten these and I start working in opposites, remember, to get a good even distribution. And then once I feel the tension bolts biting into the receivers, then we're ready to take a drum key. And then just like we did with the toms again, we're going to do 2 turns, 1, 2, and again we'll work in opposites, 1, 2, and I'm going to go ahead and keep doing that until again I start feeling an even distribution. And as far as the tuning goes, we'll talk about that a little bit towards the end of the video, but right now I just want to assemble the drum, get everything ready. What we do from this point is turn the drum over and do exactly the same thing for the display head. So here we have our hardware pack or our hardware set. This is a Yamaha 700 series hardware set. And when we talk about the hardware, we're talking about the stands and the pedals that hold the drums and the cymbals. It's important to note that this is often an additional purchase. So in a 700 series hardware set, we have 2 cymbal stands, we have a hi-hat stand, we have a snare drum stand, and we have a bass drum pedal. Now you'll notice that I'm sitting on a Yamaha 700 series seat. They are also called drum stools, drum thrones, seats. This also is an additional purchase. Now the cymbal stands, they look like they're 2 straight cymbal stands, but they're actually what we call boom stands. The boom arm is in the top section of the cymbal stand, and you're just going to take it out like that. Some people like to play with straight cymbal stands, some like the boom, but just remember the boom arm is tucked inside the cymbal stand when you purchase it. The snare stand, this is called a snare basket. The snare drum's just going to sit on this, and then you can just tighten it up down the bottom to clamp the drum in place. And the hi-hat stand and hi-hat pedal, this is something that takes a little bit of explaining. It's the one component that can often give a beginner drummer a little bit of a problem when they're setting up, so we're going to talk in a little more detail about this stand. So as you can see, it comes in 3 parts. It has a base, it has a top section, and what we call a hi-hat clutch. Now the first thing we'll do is take the top section. Now this rod inside, this is called a pull rod, and we take it over here. There's an insert in the base, and we're just going to turn that in to the insert and tighten the pull rod into the lower part of the bass, and then we lower the top part of the hi-hat and tighten like so. Then, this part normally causes a little confusion at first, but I'll talk you through it. This is our hi-hat clutch. Now what we do is we undo this bottom bolt and take off the first felt, like that. And then we'll grab our bottom hi-hat cymbal, like so. The first thing we'll do is place that inverted onto the hi-hat stand. Sits nicely like that. Then we grab the top hi-hat cymbal, and this is where we will use our clutch. So the top section of the clutch will go through like this, and then we'll turn the cymbal over. We'll put the felt down like that, and then we'll take that bolt that we just took off and we'll tighten it into place like that. Just tightens up. And then we take the cymbal and we place it over the pull rod like this, and it will sit down. Both cymbals will touch. And then if you press down lightly on the pedal, you'll notice the pull rod go down there. I'll tighten the bolt, and if I release, it starts to control the hi-hat. So the one thing I would like to talk you through is the tom bracket here. This is going to go directly into the bass drum, like so. Then you just give that a little tighten. And then you've got your tom holder, which will go in here. Again, you can tighten that. And then your drum, literally, just slots directly on like so. And then you can adjust the positioning using this ball and socket system. Do hold on to the drum when you're turning it about, because it's very easy for the drum to just drop. You don't want to dent your nice new honey amber drum set. So I just wanted to give you a little guidance on tuning. The reality of it is that DVDs have been produced on this topic, and it's just one of those things that you'll learn through trial and error. And it's also something that's very personal to each individual drummer. But I wanted to give you some guidance as to what a drum set should sound like. So with our toms, I like to tune my toms quite high, and you'll hear that. So this is our high tom, middle tom, and the low tom. Now I haven't put any muffling or anything like that on it, so what you're hearing is the raw acoustic sound of the drums. The snare drum should be quite a bit higher, so again I've disconnected the snare wires. You can hear the tone of the drum without the snare wires. Really quite high, but again, that's because I like to have my snare drum cranked up really high. You might want to take it down a little bit. Again, it's personal preference. So if I attach the snare wires, I get that sound like that. Bass drum, nice and low. Again, a very personal choice. Now with regard to the setup, how I've positioned everything, the heights of the cymbal, my seat height, my snare drum height, this is ergonomics on the drum set that's really very important, and I've done a Drum Ambition video on this. It's called One Video Every Beginner Drummer Should Watch, and you can find that free in the Drum Ambition blog section. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to email support@drumambition.com. Please also check out drumambition.com for online drum lessons and yamaha.com to view all the range of Yamaha products. Thanks for watching.